Hey guys, what's up? This is Frank from MTG Unlimited, and today I'll be showing you guys my Affinity for Artifacts Modern deck tech. This deck is a hyper-aggressive deck in Modern. It's a Tier 1 deck and focuses primarily on playing all your artifacts as quickly as possible. It usually spits out your entire hand by turn 2, turn 3 at the latest. It's just very aggressive. It's very hard for your opponent to keep up with it. It can get pretty insane very quickly, even on turn 1. This deck has a kind of interesting mana base that I'd like to talk about right now. 4 Glimmer Voids are pretty self-explanatory for this deck. It taps for pretty much any color, all the time. You're almost never going to have to sack it. Darksteel Citadel, just because it counts as an artifact. And then I'm playing 1 Island for fixing, and then 4 Blinkmoth and 3 Inkmoth Nexuses. These you can activate to make artifact creatures. One of them has Infect, and one of them can give the other one. One of them can give other Inkmoth Nexuses and Blinkmoth Nexuses counters. Just very good synergy for the deck. So let's get into the cards here. Up first, you can see Mox Opal. Mox Opal is a staple in this deck. It's fantastic. Even on turn 1, you can sometimes activate it. Its Metalcraft ability. It's very good. Even on turn 1, like I said, I've activated it many times before. It's pretty self-explanatory. It has Legendary, but you can play one, tap it, add mana, and then play the other one and sack the one that you tapped. It's got great synergy with the deck. The next card is Ornithopter. Just mostly played just because it's a 0-drop creature. It has flying too, so you can pump it with things like Steel Overseer, move counters to it with Arcbound Ravager. Also, just give it Battle Cry with Signal Pest and swing for lots of damage in the air. Welding Jar, it's also pretty self-explanatory. Another 0-drop. Just sag it to regenerate an artifact, which is very good in this deck, especially if they try to kill things like Arcbound Ravager or Vault Scourge or whatnot. Basically just saves your artifacts. I'm playing it as a 2-of just because it is fairly easy to remove in the format. Next is Memnite. I'm playing this only as a 1-of just because it's a 0-drop 1/1. It doesn't have any special abilities like Ornithopter where it has flying. However, it is still good because it sets off things like Metalcraft, and it just gets you right out of the gate even faster because it is a 0-drop. Up next, you can see Signal Pest. This is another very good card for this deck. As a 1-drop, it's very easy to play. It has 0/1, and it can only be blocked by creatures with flying or reach, so that already limits who can block this creature. It's typically going to survive because there's not many flyers in the early turns in Modern. It has Battle Cry, which is also huge for this deck. It gives all your other attacking creatures +1/+0 if this is attacking as well. Just fantastic. Just really pumps up all your other creatures to swing for tons of damage in the early turns. Up next, you can see Springleaf Drum. This is there mostly for just making mana. You can just pay 1 and then tap it, and you can tap a creature that has entered the battlefield this turn, and it also adds 1 mana of any color to your mana pool, so it's great for mana fixing in this deck. It just helps you in case you don't draw enough lands, because we're only playing 16. Up next, you can see Galvanic Blast. This is a 1-drop burn spell. It usually deals 2 damage to target creature or player, but since in almost every situation we're going to have 3 or more artifacts, you can almost always deal 4 damage, and typically you're just going to want to deal it right to their face. 4 damage for 1 mana is very insane in any deck. Up next is Vault Scourge. This is 2 mana essentially, but you can take 2 life instead of paying the second black mana. Flying and lifelink, also very good. Swings over most of the creatures in the format. It also has lifelink, so when you pump him with things like Cranial Plating or Steel Overseer, you can gain tons of life with this guy, easily get yourself back up to 20. Taking the 2 life is almost never a problem, and you're almost going to do that every single time you play him. Up next, you see Arcbound Ravager. This is one of the more expensive cards in the deck. However, it is very good. It has Modular 1, so that's not great, but you can move its counters when it's put into a graveyard, which is very good. You can move all of its counters as well. You can also sack an artifact and give him +1/+1, and typically at this point when you're playing him, you're going to have tons of unnecessary artifacts that you can sack to him and make him huge, swing in for tons of damage. You can also pump him in response to things like Lightning Bolt. Just very good overall. Up next, you can see Steel Overseer. Another very good card. You just tap, give a counter to all your artifact creatures. It's fantastic. It pumps your flyers. It pumps everything. Just really helps spread out the counters on all your creatures. Swing in for tons of damage before your opponents can react. They usually have to deal with this guy, because if you get one of them out in 2 turns, your creatures are already huge. Up next, you can see Cranial Plating, another very good card in this deck. It's 2 mana, and equipped creature gets +1/+0 for each artifact you control. Obviously, by the time you're playing this, you're going to have at least like 5 or 6 artifacts out. Whatever the equipped creature is going to get tons of pump, just tons of counters on it. It's equipped 1, which is very good. However, it also has the attach ability for 2 black, so you can attach it instant speed instead of only being able to equip it at sorcery speed. So you can also attach it in response to blocker declares. Up next, you can see Etched Champion. It's basically a 3 mana 2/2 with pro everything. Just fantastic. It's pretty much unblockable all the time. If you equip Cranial Plating to him, it's essentially an end game. There's almost no way to deal with him except for board wipes, and even then, it's typically too late for them to even do anything about it. Up next, you can see Master of Ethereum, another very good card in this deck. He's always going to be huge just because you have so many artifacts on the board by turn 3 or whenever you're going to play him, possibly on turn 2. He's going to be huge. Other artifact creatures you control get +1/+1, so that's also very significant. It pumps all your other artifact creatures, lets all your creatures swing in for tons of damage. He's huge on his own, and if you give him Cranial Plating, it's like at least a 10/10 swinging in at them, and they can almost never do nothing about it. Up next, you can see Thoughtcast. This is 5 mana, has affinity for artifacts and lets you draw 2. Typically, you're going to have enough artifacts where you only have to pay 1 blue and you get to draw 2 cards. It helps you out later in the game when your deck's stalling and you need to get some gas. Just a great card. So, thanks for watching. If you guys could please like or subscribe to my channel. Thanks so much.